This is MRN Out Loud on MRN.com, presented by Bloomin' Mondays at Outback Steakhouse. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse. After the weekend that was, the long, wet weekend that was at Daytona International Speedway, second week in a row, we have a new winner in Victory Lane, and the second week in a row, onionless for Kevin Harvick. He has not produced a free bloomin' onion at Outback Steakhouse, second week in a row. Little Joey's disappointed. Big Joey's disappointed.
Onions normally make you cry.
Yeah.
Now his performance is
making little Joey cry just a little bit.
Yeah.
However, we did meet with the folks at Outback over the weekend, and they've got a whole new category of stuff. They're bloomifying a lot of things on their menu. They're using the same seasoning that's on the bloomin' onion and putting it on chicken and a variety of other projects. So check it out. Go by Outback Steakhouse. Even though it's not free because Kevin Harvick didn't get a top 10 finish this week, you can still go by and check out some of the new stuff they've got on the menu. All right.
1959
is
the first race they ran, July 4th, Daytona.
And
we got to witness last night the last race for the official July 4th Firecracker 400 weekend. Now, you know as much as I do, as long as we've been in the sport, that was the original name of that race for the last 20 years before we got sponsored with the Coke 600 and the Pepsi 400s of the world. But the Firecracker 400 is what I grew up with. It was a summer-long event. We raced early. We spent all weekend.
I like that we raced early part.
Exactly right. And we raced early. You were done racing by mid-early afternoon, and you got to spend the rest of the weekend. My family and I, back when I was younger, and my brother's family, we'd go to Cape Canaveral that weekend because it's relatively close.
I'd love to do that sometime, by the way.
It'd be really nice. So what we witnessed last night was the last time we're going to have a delay July 4th weekend, other than the fact that it always rains in Florida.
Later in the day.
Yeah, it's it. So you're going to see an issue with weather, I think, no matter when we run the race.
Unless they go back to the early starts, which I don't foresee.
No, because it's dumb.
A TV world, and we just live in it. Yep.
And it's what we do. It's what the advertisers need. It's what the commercial people need. It's what TV needs, and we need that exposure.
However, I will say, as an aside, there's a reason why Bill French Jr., who is a native of that area, had that race in the morning for years and years and years, and we almost never had an issue with the weather then. I think once when it was run at that time.
But they did what they could, man. They did a good job. Again, Thursday, we go out down Thursday, we race the Xfinity race, and you look at the radar, and there's no way that's going to happen. No way. It doesn't happen. And they do a good job of drying the track. It gets dried in well less under 2 hours, and then those guys put on. You would have thought that was a 20-lap, $1 million win cash race because the intensity of that race, watching A.J. Allmendinger's in-car camera, wearing his neck out, looking mirror left, looking middle right. Unbelievable, the intensity of those guys sitting up front, blocking and managing that front row.
Colleague Racing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, originally coming across the start-finish line in that order. Obviously, a post-race issue.
DQ for an engine issue on Allmendinger.
But 1, 2, and 3. But the intensity
it was stout. Yeah, I worked a turn for that one, and every time we'd get a commercial or a caution, I would go.
Wow, yeah. But, I mean, the lane changes were so drastic. You thought they were going 5 miles an hour, not 195.
Yeah, they weren't, like, drifting to move over. They were, like, making a hard left in a neighborhood.
Yeah, they did a good job. It was an excellent race. And then, of course, Saturday we show up, and we're going to race, and we try to race, and yeah, and that's, again, Mother Nature, she's going to rear her ugly head because Thursday we had great weather.
I don't remember stoppages for so many times at a particular event for lightning as we had this weekend.
Well, we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but the lightning thing is
newer.
It's a newer because of technology and because of previous incidents.
Right.
And we might have a little soapbox about that.
Oh, boy. Get your bubbles ready.
Yep.
So Justin Haley winds up in victory lane.
Who?
The same guy who finished second in the Xfinity race on Friday night comes back on Sunday eventually and winds up in victory lane. A huge crash with just over 30 laps to go. Kurt Busch is in the lead.
Landon Castle is second.
Is right there. And then those guys get the one to go. They pit because they think, okay, I need a little more fuel to make it to the end safely and maybe in overtime or something like that. Then the lightning strikes. We're under a lightning hold. We never get back to green flag racing. 20-year-old Justin Haley, Xfinity Series regular, winds up in victory lane. Here's what he had to say afterwards.
Well, it's hard. Obviously, Spire Motorsports is a new team, and they don't have much over there. So this is one of their only cars, and I junked their Talladega car, which Peter was pretty mad at me for. But I hope I made it up to you with this one. But it's hard because you have to stay close enough to the draft to stay with the draft. You can't lose it because then you go multiple laps down. But you have to stay far enough back that if the big one does occur, you can avoid it, which we did perfectly there on that last caution. So it's definitely kind of like a chess match of keeping a gap enough but not losing it. So strategically today, I was just riding around, and I would have been really happy with a lead lap finish. This is my only third Cup start ever, so there was no expectation to win. It wasn't even a thought in my mind. I was really focused on the Xfinity race. When I finished second in that to Ross, it was a bummer, but happy for everyone at College Racing. But to come over here to Spire Motorsports and do something pretty special with a new team is definitely unbelievable.
So for Spire, for Peter Suspenzo, for Justin Haley, they made the right call. Why not gamble in that situation? Why not stay out? And if you wind up going back racing, so what? At least you took your swing.
The word agenda gets used a lot in racing, and my agenda is very important to me. It's different than your agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your agenda, to me, I don't care about.
Oh, come on.
And you don't care about my agenda. But when we rolled off a pit road, there were 38, 39, 40 cars with agendas, and everybody had their own. You had the manufacturer's agenda. Clearly, Chevrolets were going to work together.
We saw that all weekend long.
The Fords were going to work together, and Toyota was going to try to mix and match because they only have
They're outnumbered.
They're outnumbered, 5 or 6 cars. It is a strength and numbers game. So there's where your immediate agendas. Then you start working on, okay, if I pit as an individual team, am I going to take gas only or am I going to take tires? So everybody had their own agenda. We clearly heard Justin's agenda. Look, man, we're in this sport to give exposure to our sponsors to get them into the sport more. What better way to do it than Spire acquired the charter from the old 78 team when the Denver base shut down. They're getting sponsors involved, not necessarily to run for a championship, but to bring companies into the sport that maybe not have been in the sport before. Hey, we have an opportunity here to put you around the racetrack and invite you into a race and let you see and expose you to what we have to offer. And maybe you'll go to the next echelon to a team that is in the championship hunt. That's what Spire Motorsports.
You got to start somewhere.
That's what their agenda is. They're not going to compete. They know they're not going to compete. They had one car, right? Their agenda, just like you said, he wants to finish lead lap. When everybody else pits, it opened up Peter Suspenzo's mentality of like,
hey,
oh my Lord.
We might be able to pull one off
Did
here.
they just do what I think they did?
Yeah.
Stay out. We have nothing to lose because even if we go back to green on the one to go, we'll come down, get gas. You're still going to finish at the back of that line. You're fine.
But so many of them have wrecked, you've already passed them. Yeah.
That was their agenda. And kudos to them. They pulled it off 1,000%. This is not the first time we've ever seen this. It's not record-breaking, but by far one of the largest upsets in history, if you're going to call it that, is that 77 team with Justin Haley and Spire Motorsports pulling into victory lane, which unfortunately they didn't get to do. You don't get to.
Yeah, they were inside. We were in the driver's meeting room waiting for them afterwards for MRN, and it was like, is it over? Is it over? They're going to call it. They're going to call it, and more people started drifting in there, and finally they got the word.
NASCAR's hands are tied when it comes to the weather because clearly they wanted to get back to racing. Clearly, we only had 30 laps left after you got the one to go, and you're coming back to the green. We'd had 31 laps of racing, I believe. It just isn't. You're basing these decisions on educated guesses with technology around us. Did the rain end up moving away? Yep, sure did. But did it the night before? Nope, sure didn't.
Nope.
And so you're balancing
and you gotta
those back and forth.
factor in the math to dry the track too.
That's exactly right. And you're factoring in the people that are there. I mean,
who've already stayed a day late.
Exactly, a day late. So now they still got to drive home. At some point in time, you've got to cut your losses and realize, look, this is our decision. We live by it. We're not just rolling the dice and playing Yahtzee. They made a decision, and at the end of the day, Keith Barnwell, who sat right here, we talked about spotting, was spotting for Justin Haley. They pulled that victory off, and really they get to hang their hat. They understand that they didn't beat the crowd, but at the end of the day, they're first. They got the trophy, and that's really, really cool.
Nobody who's ever gotten a rain win will give it back. They're keeping that trophy no matter what you say. Big show coming up for you on MRN Out Loud today. We'll hear a little bit more about that Xfinity race. Ross Chastain goes to victory lane, busts up another watermelon. We'll talk about that. And a triple header coming up at Kentucky. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday night this weekend at Kentucky Motor Speedway. We'll talk about those races as well. Plus, get your bubbles. Joey's going to get on the soapbox.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre-cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules. Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Here's your chance to win a set of your very own Hercules tires. Go to HerculesTires.com/MRN. Simply register, and each month we'll give away one set of tires. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading mileage coverage to get you wherever you need to go, no matter where the road takes you. Register now for your chance to win a set of Hercules tires at HerculesTires.com/MRN. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
Winged Nation with Steve Post, Aaron Evernham, and Ashley Stremme. Your destination for all things winged sprint cars. Each Saturday at 8:30 and 11:30 a.m. on MAV TV. Live at noon on wingednation.com and Facebook Live. Join us for in-depth conversations with drivers and personalities that make up the greatest dirt racing on earth. The Winged Nation Preview Podcast each Thursday previews the upcoming weekend. Winged Nation, winged sprint car talk covering dirt tracks all across America.
Back on MRN Out Loud, reviewing what happened at Daytona International Speedway and what we think might happen at Kentucky Motor Speedway, where there's a triple header coming up this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday there. Before we get too far away from the Cup side, I wanted to point out that in addition to Justin Haley going to victory lane for the first time ever, we had a number of interesting finishes as well. William Byron comes home second, his best career finish in the Cup Series. Jimmy Johnson, best finish of 2019. He finishes third, his third top five of this year and second in a row. Ty Dillon, fourth best career finish. Eric Almirola, seventh best finish since Texas in April.
Corey
Matt
LaJoy,
Tifft, ninth. Yeah, Corey LaJoy,
sixth,
his first career top 10 finish ever. I skipped right over that.
Yeah.
Matt Tifft, ninth, his best career finish as well. So a lot of guys did some good numbers and got some good work and some good encouragement, even though I know a big wreck led to that, but that can happen at any time, at any place. It's just more likely at a super speedway to involve multiple cars.
Guys were driving real aggressively. They understood, first of all, the fact that so let's go back a couple of handful of races. The Daytona 500, even before this year's Daytona 500, the two teams of Team Penske and Stewart Hut Racing had gotten together with a total of 8 cars and tried to say, look, let's not beat ourselves. Let's not fight against each other. Let's go strength in numbers. So as a smaller group of cars, they always had 4, 5, or 6 cars working together. Stewart Haas was very good. They ended up winning Talladega last year, I believe, working together, all 4 of those cars the entire race. We fast forward to February of this year. The Toyotas realize that they don't have strength in numbers. They got together with Hendrick Motorsports and said, we need to work together. And it worked really, really well and kind of shocked everybody that 2 different manufacturers going to work together. Denny Hamlin won the race.
Yes.
Chevrolet got a hold, understood what happened, and they said, that will never happen again. You are not going to work with another manufacturer. We are going to work together as a manufacturer. They had meetings. All the Chevrolets worked together.
If you're a Chevy exec, you say, why should we help them out? If they want to have more cars, they can get them. They can put them in.
So now the Chevrolet teams work together, and they had strength in numbers. Chase Elliott won Talladega. Now Ford gets involved and said, look, we are not going to push another manufacturer to victory lane. We are going to strengthen numbers. There are just about more Fords than anybody in the field. If we all work together, we have strength in numbers. And what we saw yesterday was the Fords were clearly up front for a significant portion of the race working together. When you had a non-manufactured car lined up behind another non-manufactured car, i.e. a Toyota, a Ford, a Chevrolet, not two Toyotas, not two Fords, guys were very, very aggressive up front because they realized they were by themselves. They were stuck on this island.
Yeah.
And they were trying to battle the island behind them. And that's where we saw these wrecks come from. We saw the Dillon wreck and the Clint Boyer wreck there at the end. And that was simply nothing more than guys being extreme, understanding that they're by themselves here, man. If I don't hold this lead, it's not like I have teammates coming to help me.
Yeah.
And we saw how aggressive that was. When guys were out front and there were 5, 6, 7 manufacturers lined up, things were kind of calm because we didn't have to get all crazy.
But the more it went, people were obviously watching the radar and thinking the end of stage 2 might be the race. So you could feel the intensity ratchet up there. And then we go to stage 3 and it went up another notch.
Yeah, and it ramped up another notch. And again, because of the weather, but also because the manufacturers on these restarts, it would take a little bit of time to get lined back up.
To jostle around it,
to get the manufacturers lined back up. And it's difficult to do it 195 miles an hour.
Yeah.
To wave your hand and go ahead, get in front of me.
Hey, will you let me in here? Yeah, you don't have a blinker either.
Click, they put your hand out the window. So that was part of the dilemma that raised the elevation of intensity going down the front stretch, causing Dillon and Boyer to get together because neither one was giving an inch.
And let me ask you this, that you mentioned the Austin Dillon thing where some folks say it's a bad block, some folks say he didn't handle it right. But from a spotter's perspective, I heard several drivers say over the course of the week and even leading into the race that the runs with this new configuration come so much faster. You have to time that thing absolutely perfectly. In years past, a leader could see which line had some momentum and was coming and could just move out there and absorb it. Now, that momentum is coming so much faster. If you don't have your own momentum and enough of it, you're going to wind up in a wreck just because it's different now.
There's a large difference gap now. These cars are acting just like the trucks do with huge runs. And the difference between blocking a lane and managing a lane is if that guy gets to your bumper, you were late.
Yeah.
If he touches you and you were changing lanes to get in front of him and he gets to you,
you're going to wreck.
You were late. And the first thing we need for two cars to wreck is they touch. And all of a sudden now you're touching. So you've already activated step one.
Yeah.
In the older configuration, that air that stayed around the nose of the car would get to the back bumper and would push you away. And that's how you were trying to manage. And we saw a little bit of that going on yesterday, but you really had to be ahead of the timing. Being able
or if you go too soon and by yourself, they'll just gobble you up anyway.
That's it. So you have to be willing to say, look, man, the car's coming, and that's the experience level. We were only in our third race of this, or actually second race of this package.
Because it started at Talladega.
And now this race with that Wicker and the new package. So the managing of the front row is a learning experience. And what we saw done yesterday were guys. So the two wrecks that we saw was Kurt Busch with Stenhouse, two different manufacturers, not giving an inch. And then the big wreck there at the end with Clint Boyer and Austin Dillon, two different manufacturers.
About 15 others or so.
That's it. But I mean, those two cars, were different manufacturers. So that's why we saw the intensity of this manufacturer is not giving in to this manufacturer, which was completely different than what we saw at Daytona at the beginning of the year.
Two things jump out at me there. Remember, as you mentioned earlier, this was the last July Daytona 4th of July weekend race that we're going to have. After this, next year, it moves to the finale of the regular season. And if you don't think that'll add another level of intensity, you're mistaken. Plus, we've got to do this again with this configuration at Talladega, which will be a playoff race.
One of the things that I think hasn't been talked about a lot is the intensity of that last race next year. Because not only are guys trying to win and get in or solidify their place in the points, but you're going to have a group of cars in that 13th to 18th place points that a big
wreck, they can make their season in one day.
Or lose it.
Yeah.
Or lose their season. And that's the intensity of that we're going to be expecting from that 14th, 15th, 16th place guy.
The bubble group.
If they get wrecked, how many points will they have and can they fall out of that top 16? They worked up 25 races we're going to run before that Daytona race, which will be the 26th race, and worked off 25 races to get in that 13th, 14th, or 15th place spot. And boom, in one race, because some other guy ruined your afternoon, is going to make your entire season go down the tubes.
Hypothetically, look ahead in your crystal ball when we get to that point. If, and I'm sure all these guys do, this is what crew chiefs do a lot of, if they've done the math and they're in that bubble group that you mentioned and they can protect themselves by just riding around in the back, do you think we're going to see some of that?
Absolutely, 1,000%. We saw some guys that talked about riding around yesterday.
The math has to work to make it feasible.
Absolutely. You know, you go into defense mode. You go into protect mode. Like I say, you've run 25 races to that point, and that's race number 26. You don't want to put it down the tubes right there.
Right. So we'll see a good bit of that as well.
Yep,
All right,
yep,
let's shift gears a little bit now and get on the soapbox because I know you've got some things to talk about with Daytona.
Every sport.
There's the bubbles.
Every sport has done something to try to get more protection for their players or their fans. We've seen football got rid of the kickoff. Now we're doing kickoffs, essentially kickoff returns, because they're trying to get the return taken out of the game because of the concussions to help the players.
Baseball's talking about extending the nets.
Because of foul balls, right? Well, NASCAR several years ago, unfortunately, had no policy. We ran and we raced until the track surface was too wet. Regardless of the weather around us. We could have a hurricane, tornado, hailing, whatever was going on. If the track surface was dry, we were racing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, during an event several years ago at Pocono, the fans, they were leading out after it had started raining. The storm was already there, and somebody got struck and injured severely by lightning. NASCAR developed a policy of a 8-mile ring around the facility, and lightning, if it strikes inside that, they declare a lightning hold.
Yeah.
And they want you to get off the roof, get out of the stands, go inside the garage, get
some cover.
Take your protective measure, whatever that case may be, for 30 minutes after the last lightning strike. It's a safety issue.
Right.
People are upset. You're taking away my racing, man. We got here for racing, and I can't. It's only lightning. It's the absolute dumbest argument I've ever heard.
Because the people who make it are going to be the ones who want to sue after something goes wrong.
But I've never seen the selfishness go that deep.
Right. Who cares about my life?
Yeah, who cares about your life, right? Because I'm not going to get struck by lightning, and clearly I don't care if you get struck. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
That's what the person
I want
arguing.
what I want.
Correct. I know I'm smart enough not to get struck by lightning.
You're not fast enough.
That's what that guy says. The guy, person arguing. They're saying I'm not going to get struck by lightning because I'm too smart, and I don't care if you get struck by lightning.
Yeah.
That's the most selfish act I've ever made, and the idiocracy of it all.
Idiocracy?
You
I
like
love that
See?
one. That is fantastic.
You like that?
Yeah.
Good. You're welcome. It blows my mind how social media has created the level of stupidity and selfishness of people to complain about NASCAR's lightning policy. Look.
They even made Bubba Wallace stop. He came out to interact with the fans and throw the football. He and Daniel Hemrick did. Right. They even made him stop that because people were hanging around when they needed him to take cover. It's a great thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing Bubba or anybody like that. No. I applaud what he did 100%.
They were enforcing
their
policy.
They wanted everybody to be safe, and they weren't going to leave until he said, okay, I'm stopping.
Right. Because, again, you're in the garage, you're on pit road during that lightning hold. You don't understand the big picture, right? All you're doing, you got out of your race car, it's not raining. I'm going to go play around on pit road like we used to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so the communication was a little delayed getting down to say, look, guys, we're under a lightning hold, which means we need all the inspection stop in the garage, no work on pit road. Everybody gets down off the roof, the spotters and camera guys. Everybody goes inside because it's lightning.
Right. It is deadly.
It's lightning.
Yeah.
It's not going to go, hey, how you doing? I'm here. And
it's not a mosquito bite we're talking about here.
In 30 seconds, I might strike somewhere near you, so I'm going to give you a warning. It doesn't do that. It's instant, and it's deadly. And NASCAR
Nobody can predict it. Nobody can control it.
No, they can't predict it. That's the greatest thing. We have detectors, not anticipators, right?
But that's just to warn you it's nearby. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. To argue about a lightning policy is the most ludicrous argument I've ever heard in my life, and it's embarrassing. Those guys should go home and look in the mirror and go, yeah, that was dumb.
Yeah, exactly, but I doubt that'll happen. I got a quick one as well. Mine has to do with the people who came out of the woodwork after Justin Haley goes to Victory Lane and said, well, what about Spire Sports? They're working with sponsors and working with teams and working with drivers. They should not be allowed to win that race. It's a conflict. Where have you been for the first half of the season? They've been running all year. They bought a charter. They got a $6 million loan to buy that charter. Where was the outrage at that point?
Where's the conflict?
Right.
We talked this show a week ago. Go back and rewind. You can look at podcast, MRN.com, and Out Loud. It's a great show last week. I thought one of our best shows.
I agree.
You find sponsors any way you can. The owners can find sponsors. The drivers can find sponsors. A sponsor-finding company can find sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we have a sponsor. What do? Well, we either go give it to a driver, we give it to an owner, or, we buy a charter. We open up our own race team.
Right.
And that's what Spire Motorsports is doing. Kudos to them. They're, just like we said in the beginning of the show, which if you haven't, you just checked in right now, rewind your podcast and listen to it. They introduce sponsors to the sport. That's a good thing. There's nothing negative about what Spire's doing.
Because if they get a sponsor in and it goes to another car, aren't they technically hurting their own car? They're helping their company, but they're not helping their particular car.
Well, but they because they're always associated with that sponsor. Even if that sponsor goes to another race team, there's still a commission-based profit from that association, and that's how that company works. That's the sole purpose of that company. And kudos to them. There's zero conflict of interest from what Spire's doing to what Ross Chastain's doing with bringing watermelon money to the field, or what Rick Hendrick's doing bringing Ally. It's the same thing. We have a business. We need money. We found money, and we're utilizing it to race. Stop it.
It's definitely something. I think it's going to be, that blending is going to be something you'll hear more and more of as we go forward, because NASCAR is talking about that as well. Steve Phelps, the NASCAR president, met with the media while we were at Daytona and talked about some sponsorship model that's a lot more like soccer. When you see in the World Cup the soccer players interviewed and there's all these different logos behind them for all these interviews, that's more of the model you're going to start seeing in NASCAR in the future, rather than one huge entitlement sponsor for the series. So that blending is going to continue. Get used to it. We've got more to come here on MRN Out Loud. We're going to start looking at Kentucky next.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right. Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre-cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders, because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Since 1942, Freightliner has been an industry innovator, developing trucks renowned for their dependability and efficiency. Whether your job requires a dump truck, a concrete mixer, or a delivery truck, you can count on Freightliner to maximize your productivity. With a wide range of horsepower and torque rating that meet even the most demanding job conditions, Freightliner trucks are built to build your business. Learn more at Freightliner.com. Freightliner. Work smart.
Hi, this is Mike Backley. Join me and the rest of the MRN crew every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. We'll get you up to date with the latest news stories and ready for the upcoming race weekend.
That's what it boils down to. You know, anything can happen in between, and we've seen it the last few years, kind of how crazy things can get.
Hear exclusive interviews, expert analysis, and much more.
Wheel that thing, brother, wheel it! That's why you never give up, guys. Never give up.
It's NASCAR Live this Tuesday night at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Man, I can't walk. I don't know. It's all a blur, but it all starts with people. I mean, it's not just a PR thing you say. It's, for me, this is what it's all about. It's all about the people, and the people that got me in this car, and then Matt Colley, Chris Rice helping put all this together is, man, it's just, it's great. It's what the good Lord puts in front of you, and he put these people in my path for no reason that any of us saw coming, and it's all for a greater reason, and I'm good with whatever he gives, and it's been the darkest of times, but it's also been the best times of my life this year. And getting to work and getting, I mean, like Chris said it earlier, 5 years ago or so, me and him were fighting for, you know, just mad at each other all the time. Like, physically, I thought we were going to fight. And when this all deal came together, he called me and said, come up to the shop, we're talking alone. Nobody else was there. We stood in the middle of the shop. He explained his side, I explained my side. We shook hands and we said, we're going to go take over the world. And that's what Matt Colley wanted to do with us. He wanted us to go win trophies, go trophy hunt. He told these guys at the beginning of the year, especially after the first Daytona race, I said, if you, seeing how much track position meant, if you want me to race for the win, we may crash on lap 5, and they were good with it. The only thing was don't crash with your teammates, so at least leave somebody out there for Colley Racing to go win. So bringing 3 cars here was unprecedented. We got the 16 car in Victory Lane. I mean, it's incredible.
Colleague Racing, Ross Chastain goes to Victory Lane is second. The first was with Chip Ganassi Racing before the whole DC Solar thing went, and they had to rework their thing, and Chip Ganassi Racing no longer has an Xfinity Series program. But my gosh, what about Ross Chastain? He has that ride, he has the great opportunity, does well in it, then the whole thing gets yanked out from under him through no fault of his own. He comes back, says, I'm going to go racing for points in the Xfinity Series, changes that, goes truck racing, racing for points, wins, gets DQ'd, comes back and wins again, now goes to the Xfinity Series and wins. It's just, if it was a movie, nobody would believe it.
On a normal season in the Cup Series, we run 36 to 38 races if you include the 150s and the Busch,
the exhibition
the Busch
races,
Clash and
the All-Star, and
he's driven 44 top 3 series races this year already. All 3 series he's been very active at and very competitive at. He was over at BKR several years back and did an amazing job in the truck through a business decision. He was out and Tyler Reddick was brought in, I thought, a year too early, really. We needed to keep Ross in that truck. But he's clawed and dug and did everything he could to stay in this sport. And everybody knew how good of a driver he is. There's nobody right now, and again, I said it last week, podcast, MRN.com, last week's show, there's nobody that's been most improved in what they've done, and especially the Xfinity and the Truck Series, than Ross Chastain. Great, great, great kid for the sport, driving his guts out, getting the most out of his equipment.
You just have to admire the tenacity.
That's it. And I love everybody has a unique victory lane celebration or on track. For his and his watermelon guys, he's given more exposure to that crowd than anybody could have imagined with the watermelon spiking.
I got one in the fridge right now.
That's it. But they did the double watermelon smash in victory lane, and it's kudos to those guys. Again, Colleague Racing at the time finished 1, 2, and 3, had super fast race cars, and those guys, again, are beating the likes of the Junior Motorsports and the Team Penske's, the Richard Childress Racings, right? They're beating those superpowers.
They were strong all night.
Exactly, and it's so Colleague Racing is quickly becoming a superpower. They're not there yet. We know that. That's a very new team. They went from one car essentially to 2 cars this year full time.
It's similar to the path of GMS in some respects.
Yep. And then that's another team that again, not a superpower yet, but Colleague Racing is clearly going in the right direction, and Ross Chastain is driving his wheel off, man. It's amazing.
One other note there, A.J. Allmendinger, the one you mentioned, he got DQ'd from a third-place finish because of an engine issue there. Talked to A.J. on Friday, I believe it was, at the track. He does have several more races coming up, particularly the road course races. We're almost a road course season in the Xfinity Series, and he said there may be more than that in the offing.
I'll tell you what, we talked about this. We had so much rain delay in the car. The 4 spotters over at Team Penske and the Wood Brothers all ride together. So it's T.J. Majors, Josh Williams, Coleman Presley, and myself. We all
the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
That's it. We all foamed at the mouth when we talked about A.J. Allmendinger and Austin Cindric at a road course.
That'll be fun.
That'll be a fantastic race to watch those guys, because clearly from the experience level of Austin Cindric, a road course, A.J. Allmendinger, long history in the road course. And then you have the Justin Allgaiers of the world that have always done well there.
They're good,
but not known for their road course prowess. But that'll be an amazing battle, bringing AJ into, I believe, Road America and is it Mosport?
Mid-Ohio.
Mid-Ohio. So that'll be, I will be watching that race for sure.
It's going to be fun. Absolutely fun to see. Now let's shift ways to Kentucky, because we mentioned the Xfinity Series. You talked some truck racing in terms of what Ross Chastain has done. We're headed to Kentucky, a triple header, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Trucks, the Gander Outdoor Truck Series on Thursday on the Motor Racing Network. We'll have the Buckle Up in Your Truck 225 Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Been a while since they've been on the track. They've had not several weeks. They had a week off here, but all 3 series running at night under the lights of Kentucky. What can we expect? It's almost always hot there.
You know, one of the things that you see from the truck series is it's like a mini Daytona, mini Talladega, a lot of wide open throttle. The track is smooth, but it's getting aged now with the asphalt. For a long time, there was a 1-groove bottom lane when they repaved it, but the track is starting to widen out. That's very, very wide, but a lot of on throttle. And the more on throttle you get that drafting, and that's going to be important. The side story is, who's Austin Hill going to make mad this weekend? And that's that. But again, he's owned it.
It's right now against Thor Sport. It's
exactly.
him against Thor Sport for the moment.
So is he going to continue on with
I think he is.
Grant Enfinger and Johnny Sauter? Or is he going to pick somebody else, or is it just a matter of, man, I'm hard racing, and who's around me is who's around me?
Yeah, I think that might be more of what. Now, will we see your favorite, the Dragon, this week?
They, I think they've already attacked the place with the dragon. It's it. Trying to get it off the bottom to help widen that facility out. Because again, anytime you're on throttle, it's really about taking the shortest way around the track. So what you're trying to do is get the longer portion of the track, which is off the bottom in the middle of the track, make it get more grip and give it an advantage to the bottom. And then we've seen that at Kentucky. It's going to get a little bit wider, but the truck race will be a lot of wide open throttle with a lot of drafting.
It's going to be fun to watch. In the Xfinity Series there on Friday night, our friends at the Performance Racing Network will have that event. And on Saturday night, the PRN crew will have that one as well. Make sure you catch us, though, Thursday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time for the Buckle Up in Your Truck 225, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series race from Kentucky Speedway. One more time out here on MRN Out Loud. We'll come back and put a bow on it, and we got a couple of more things you might want to stick around for next.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre-cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Pocono Raceway is summertime. It's where kids are free and everyone's welcome to camp out for the weekend. It's where fans can shake hands with the most famous drivers on earth. It's where tailgating is serious business. It's where first-timers hang out with old-timers, and the racing's always a little tricky. Bring your friends, bring your family, just bring it, Pocono style. The Gander RV 400, July 26th to 28th. Kids under 12, free all weekend.
Hi, folks. Mike Bagley here. At MRN, we rely on equipment from Racing Electronics.
Joey Logano to the lead on the back straightaway.
Racing Electronics has scanners and headphones. We can listen to every uncensored conversation between driver and crew.
You won the championship, baby, yeah!
And when we need live audio, in-car cameras, and up-to-the-second statistics, we use their latest handheld unit called Legend. To learn more about these products and many others, visit racingelectronics.com. Racing Electronics, the official two-way communication partner of MRN.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse. And as we said, no free bloomin' onion this week because Kevin Harvick didn't get a top 10 finish. But
you know what? I think
we love free stuff.
You know, we've been talking about this, and I think since we haven't given, it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So what can we do? We can't make Outback give away onions.
No, that's their plan,
that's
and
the
they're sticking to it. Yeah.
So I think what we did was we got together with Hercules Tires.
Little Herc.
Yep, and they're going to give away a free set of tires every month.
Free every month.
Free.
Tires aren't cheap.
Every car has tires.
Yeah,
right?
and they're not cheap. Yeah.
And the only way you can get those free tires is by registering on HerculesTire.com/MRN. It's HerculesTires.com/ free tires.
What have you got to lose?
Free tire. If you don't get a bloomin' onion, you can get free tires. And then when you get your tires, maybe Harvick will get back on track and you can drive.
And it could be a 2 for week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But free tires. Hercules Tires every month. HerculesTires.com/MRN.
And you might be a winner as well. We also want to let you know about a new podcast series debuting on the Motor Racing Network this week. Jeff Gordon. He's going to be, our podcast series is called Jeff Gordon, The Colorful Career of the Rainbow Warrior, one of the iconic racers of all time in NASCAR. We've talked to so many people to put this series together. It debuts this week. Make sure you check out MRN.com to find out more. The new episodes are going to start dropping every Tuesday for the next 10 weeks here, starting this week at MRN.com.
One of the quick stories we used to get from Ray Evernham was Jeff Gordon used to have Indian feathers all painted up on his helmet, had a really cool helmet. And he could always tell when Jeff Gordon was about to march to the front, he'd be leaning his head over at the window net. He said you could see the feathers almost flying out of the window net.
We talked a lot to Ray for this.
They were leaning over on that window net. Whenever Jeff got over on that wheel, he said, oh, those guys were in trouble.
Yeah, you knew that was coming for sure. A great series. We talked to so many people about Jeff Gordon and Jeff himself, several different sessions. We sat down with him. You won't want to miss this if you've been a Jeff Gordon fan or even a fan of just NASCAR in general. You're going to want to hear some of these stories. Also, NASCAR Live comes your way Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll have Mike Bagley back in the seat. We're trying to get Justin Haley on that show. I think that's going to happen, so make sure you're there for that. If you miss it live on Tuesday night, you can catch it afterward at MRN.com. And as we mentioned, the Truck Series is in action, a triple header coming up this weekend at Kentucky Motor Speedway. Thursday night, the Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Buckle up in your truck, 225, Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Then our friends over at the Performance Racing Network take over on Friday night for the Xfinity Series. And then on Sunday, Saturday night, the Cup Series under the lights at Kentucky as well. Why is it always so hot at Kentucky?
It's hot. The bluegrass state.
Yeah.
But it's not really blue.
It's just a variety of grass. It has kind of a blue tint to it as well. Make sure you're there for that, folks. Join us right here again next week for another edition of MRN Out Loud. I'm Woody Kane. That's Joey Meyer. We'll see you right back here next week.